Okay, we are here with Steve Gordon Jr. He is a superstar online. All I see him is posting his family, him competing and jumping. It seemed like every athlete that he actually works with is the best of the best. And it's just excelling so well. And I see all these, Instagram videos, that athlete is coached by you. So just say hello to all the viewers. And if you can, just kind of break down who you are and your background.
Absolutely. Hello, everybody. My name is Steve Gordon Jr. I am a jump-specific coach, but I coach a bit of sprints and multis also. But my heart is definitely in the jump nation all day long. I am a former world-class triple jumper, and I did some long jump and high jump in college. Started my career out at Nebraska, go Huskers. Transferred to the University of South Dakota, go Coyotes. And so now I focus on coaching a range of athletes all the way from youth to pro. But the sweet spot where my heart is in developmental athletes, those athletes who have the times, have the distances, they have the talent, but they may have a factor like time, money. They can't move to a training camp, all those kind of things that shouldn't make an athlete walk away from the sport, but thousands of us do. And I say us because I was one of them.
Yeah. So there's so many layers just in that introduction. Let's first start with the beginning. So how you and track and field met? Were you doing other sports? Did you kind of stumble across track? What happened there?
Yeah, I'm kind of like every track athlete in the world where we probably play ball.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like some of us play football, some of us play others, but all of us hoop. And so, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I was really big into basketball. I was a late developer, late bloomer. So when everyone was pretty hard body in the paint, they were playing. I played on the playgrounds and whatnot, but track just spoke to me because when I started running, it was actually in front of church, in the street, taking on challengers, and I almost got in trouble for racing in my good clothes. And a lady named Margie Clark, she saved my life, man. Saved me from the beating of a lifetime. She said, bring him to the track next week. He's only doing what God gave him a gift to do. And that was 8 years old, and I haven't stopped since.
Wow. And then when did you get into the jump specific? Did you start jumping in high school before that?
Just before high school, junior high, Omaha, Nebraska, although it might not seem like it, a lot of athletes from Omaha without realizing it. Your Gail Sayers, your Amon Green, who is my cousin. We've got some talent, NFL level talent. Niles Paul, also my cousin, played for the Redskins. We have that kind of talent pool here. And so when it came to football and even track, the superstars had their day and you had to find a place to fit. And the truth is I was moderately talented, but I love the sport. And so I'm like, okay, where can I fit where people don't gravitate toward? And I was really technical at the time. I loved figuring out how things worked. And so my eighth grade year is when my first year jumping. And I tried it, ended up being the city champion. I'm like, okay, I'm on to something here. This felt different than everything else, And the jumps have a culture.
Yeah.
You hear that a lot with multis have a culture, jumps have a culture, sprints definitely have a culture. And I was more that type where I don't have a lot of animosity, so I can't go around mean mugging. I got to have fun doing it. And jumpers seem to have a ton of fun and get the job done. And it was technical. It just rang for me.
Yeah. And so how were you as a high school athlete? Because, you went to Nebraska, so you had to have some talent.
Yeah.
What was that high school experience like to get you to that college level?
Once the ball started rolling, it really took off. To be honest, up until my sophomore year, I was average. And I had run summer track. Shout out to the Midwest Striders. That was my club. But the truth is, it still hadn't quite yet taken me to that next level. Made it to nationals, but a lot of kids make it to nationals. If you work hard and you put your time in, you're going to get some achievement. But I remember being put out of state by my own teammate my sophomore year. And that hurt. That stung so bad that My junior year, I made a promise to make it to state. Well, not only did I make it to state, I won the all-class gold in the triple
Wow.
jump. And that very next year's, my senior year, another all-class gold, and that is what got the attention of some collegiate recruiters who started to look at me and figure, okay, he's on a slightly later curve. I was still underdeveloped, but I knew how to jump. I knew some of the technical aspects, and so that's when they started taking notice. I mean, at the time, also, I'm 6'3", maybe 170 pounds soaking wet. So they saw this really long body. And one of my initial coach that recruited me from Nebraska said, you remind me of Al Joyner. And I was like, wow, like that's a high compliment. Yeah. So they talking serious now.
Wow. And then, so what was the experience like now? Because you said you've tracked, you had that experience where you kind of learned some things.
Right.
Then it got organized through high school, and you realize, okay, now I'm starting to feel the ups and downs of the mental side of it, obviously. And then you set this goal, and now you show up to Nebraska. What was that overall experience like, and what challenges did you have?
Oh, man. My mom said it best to prepare my head for it, and even still it wasn't enough. She said, where you're here, you're a state champion. Where you're going, everybody's a state champion. And so that framed it for me in a way that literally blew my mind. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm not working against someone who's kind of good. Everybody's the best of the best. And I was up for the challenge, but it was hard. It was difficult to find your bearings because you get hit with this wealth of knowledge. That's when the books come open. That's when the technique starts being discussed heavily. There weren't coaches like you and myself and others like us who get technical in youth or in high school. Back in the day, I mean, I'm talking at this time, 92, 93. Back in the day, we were still pretty much bigger, stronger, faster, working on workouts from the 60s. So it was just, if you can go hard, you can get some kind of achievement. Then you get to college and you're like, okay, there's a lot more technique to this. There's a lot more thinking to this. There's a plan, there's a system. And that was overwhelming my first semester. Yeah, but it started to take hold, I'd say maybe midway through second semester, when I understood I'm moving my body better. I remember thinking that they were definitely going to kick me off the team when I got there. I'm like, no matter what my PR is, I look like crap. Like, how are I know they're disappointed in me.
That's usually how it goes when you come in as that freshman. As you say, like, you're the top for your state, and you get to this national level and everyone's good. So it's a rude awakening. Was there a big change also in just the expectation? I'm assuming high school, it seems like you kind of just trained and kept working hard, but now you're expected to be at a certain level, expected to make conference. What was that like?
Absolutely. That was the first thing. That was almost, you almost got that as you got your books and as you got your dorm key. It was like, oh, and by the way, this is what it takes to make the travel squad, to get on that bus every Thursday and leave for the meet. This is what it takes to make the conference team. And you're thinking that on day one. And then you juxtapose that with how much you realize you don't know. So now there's this fear, this anxiety, this pressure, and it's a lot to handle and stay confident, to stay up when now you're in a situation where in high school, once you start to get some momentum, everybody's pretty much pulling for you. You get to college and even people on your own team will look at you skeptically if you're not pulling your weight, if you don't seem to be picking up on things quick enough, if you don't seem to be panning out the way that they've been, projecting you might. And so then that anxiety starts to get in there. And it's a lot to deal with on an 18-year-old brain.
Yeah.
To then perform like a full-grown man, or woman.
1, 2, 3.
Let's go! Dig! 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Come on now.
Every rep counts.
Train stronger, recover faster with Compex Muscle Stim.
So you talked about two different colleges. What led you to changing from to Nebraska to, what was the other school again?
South Dakota.
South Dakota. So what was the change? What happened there?
That as I look back on it, man, that's a story for the ages. Like, I could write a book, and I probably should, about the troubles and the struggles of transferring. Because when you hear about it, you don't often hear about it as an option. Someone might whisper it, and then it's quickly knocked down and now I understand why, because it is a hassle and it's a struggle, and you really got to have your mind set that it's not going to work where you're at, and you have to find a better place to be. So I'll preface by saying I absolutely love Nebraska. It's my home state. It's the big university. It's where you're meant to be. My freshman year, I was fourth in the Big Eight in the long and triple jump. So I scored at conference for my team like they ask you to do. Mm-hmm. I was ranked 16th in the country at the time indoor. They only took 12. So it was a really big chopping block when it came to that. So on the list, but didn't make it to nationals. And then I'm on books. So I literally am struggling to stay in college, yet I'm doing everything that they asked me to do in my sport. And I couldn't sustain that. I couldn't continue to worry about whether or not I would even be able to go to class, let alone stay eligible for track. Yeah. And so I'm fighting on two different fronts. And so I came to the realization that I wasn't able to stay there under that current scholarship level of just having books. So it was the kind of thing where I'm like, okay, I got to make a choice here. And on top of that, my postseason was amazing. I ended up making the junior Pan Am team in '93, and no support. I was the only one there, you know.
Wow.
I go back to school and I'm still on books. Like, I got USA papers. Mm-hmm. And I'm on books. I couldn't reconcile that in my brain. Mm. And so I had to at least make the move to make that choice. But what got caught up is the details, the business of NCAA sports, the business of big time track and field caught up with me in the fact that I didn't know my details. At the time, a letter of intent covered you for 2 years. Scholarship or no scholarship, if you intended to go to a school and you signed, that signing day where everybody puts on their hat and I'm going to Nebraska, that gets you. Because when you sign, they had you for 2 full years, no arguments, no complaints, no ifs, ands, or buts. Well, trying to transfer after 1 year was a no-go. I didn't know that, and I had run it all the way up the flagpole to the AD. Mom's there, got a lawyer friend looking over things to make sure, dotted I's and crossed T's. They went with the AD, the coach, and everybody. The two sides meet, and they're like, you sign this paper, you're here. How about you just come on back and hush it up, and we'll get back to work.
Wow.
So now, compounded with everything, I'm a little bit heartbroken because I'm worried about school. Now, I'm kind of a Benedict Arnold because I wanted to leave, but I was forced to come back. But it's not about my teammates, and I got to get them to understand that, but they're a little salty. The business of things had left me definitely hanging out to dry. I'm a little bit road weary. I'm roadkill because the university is a monster, and little old me was not going to really fight it. And so that led to eventually getting that transfer, but under a lot of conditions.
And the thing I think that stands out that maybe most people aren't hearing is that you made this decision off of finances.
Right.
You didn't say, I'm good, I deserve this. You said, I'm good, I'm doing whatever I need to do because the school wanted these certain checkpoints completed. Right. I checked all those boxes off and some, but I'm having trouble, I need your help. Right?
It
And
was it
what
was
I
definitely a humility play. Like I was not at all cocky. I just knew I couldn't stay. I couldn't afford it. Yeah.
yeah, and what I hear and see now is a lot of athletes want to transfer to the best colors. I like this school's
Ah,
colors more. Hey, I was
right,
state champion. I
right.
got 10,000, followers on my social media. I should get X, Y, and Z. And
Yep.
that's not really how it works. You
Yeah, it's a
know,
whole different game. Like in the athlete's mind, being able to have control of your own media empire, if you will, puts cart before horse because that still doesn't matter to a real business, an actual machine that is built to utilize your talent to the best of their ability.